Hey, 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 welcome to the second video for our all ears pouch sew along. I'm going to link to the first video, so if you guys are like, what is this lady talking about, then you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a 3-video series walking you through making my new sewing pattern called the all ears pouch. Today we are going to start sewing. So I'm going to switch the camera over to the close-up shot so you can really get a good detailed view of what we're making. The majority of the pouch that I'm going to be making is the mouse pouch, but I will also today walk you through the steps to create the other ear options too. All right, let's jump in. The majority of this video, I'll be walking you through how to make the mouse ears version of the pouch. The version with the crab ears is constructed the same way, but there are a couple of small differences with the bunny and the cat, mainly being the contrast piece on the ears, which is created the same way. Also, the face. I am going to construct a bunny bag with a face. So I'll show you the beginning steps of that. So I have my supplies collected here. I have my bunny ears cut out. I have my pouch piece cut out, which I can just set aside for now. Then I've got a placement guide and I have some other pieces. We're going to start with the applique. I have a piece of paper-backed fusible web. This is Heat and Bond Feather Light, which is my favorite paperback fusible web to use because it doesn't add a lot of bulk to your projects, it doesn't gum up your sewing machine, and the paper backing peels off really easily. Definitely had problems in the past with paper backing not coming off. Just going to take a pencil, and for the piece that says contrast piece, we are going to trace that onto our paperback fusible web. Now you can see, I can see this just fine. If you have a problem, you can't see this, you can use a light box. So I'll show you kind of the difference with the light box. So you don't have to cut out the piece with the contrast for the ears. Same with the cat. The cat's a little bit different in the fact that there is a definite right and left for the ears. The bunny is not quite as straightforward with that. All right, so I have those traced, and then I need to trace the eyes. And it doesn't have to be where it's going to be on your pattern because we are going to be moving these pieces around. Lots of paper. All right, let me move this out of the way. Take these pieces and just cut them out loosely. You don't need to be precise. Actually, you'll waste your time if you're precise at this point. Now you're going to take this. I have some leftover charcoal sparkler fabric from another project. Let me adjust this light a little bit. Alright. What you're going to do is there's a paper side and a shiny side. The shiny side is sticky. You're going to take it and place it so that the sticky side is down. And then, so I'm going to do that. And then the ears and the nose will be out of pink. I'm going to go to my iron and I'm going to just press this until it's adhered. Then I'm going to cut it out precisely around the lines. Alright, these are cut out. It's paper on one side and fabric on the other. There are my eyes and my nose. I'll put them here for now. The bunny ears are cut out. What you want to do is so I've got 4 bunny ears here, and I've already interfaced them. Take the 2 off the top, because these are right sides together. So if I were to take these two pieces and make them both ear fronts, that won't work when I go to sew it because they're not perfectly symmetrical. So just make sure if you cut your fabric right sides facing that you take one from each pile. And then we'll put these aside. Then take your ear contrast fabric and peel off the paper and place it on the ear. Alright, once it's in a spot that you like, take it to your iron and press it. And put those aside. Now we're going to do the same thing for the face. And do keep your pattern piece for later because there are markings on it for ear placement that you're going to want. So my pattern piece, I have a front and a back to the pouch. So like this is the front of the pouch because this is where the eyes are, but the ears get attached to the back of the pouch. So I don't need to do this because I'm going to attach the face to this, but if you're not attaching the face, I would maybe put a pin or an X or something so that as you're working you remember which side is the front and which side is the back. Take your applique piece, and for this you probably do need a light box. If you don't have a light box, just in your house find a bright window. This is a pretty quick project, so it shouldn't take that long just to hold it up. Then we're going to place this on here and use it as a guide. And that frayed a little bit as I pulled it off, so I'll go in with my little sharp scissors and trim that up. Take this to the iron and press it in place. Then you're going to go to your sewing machine and you're just going to put a straight stitch on the machine, nothing fancy, and just stitch along the edge. Just follow the line. I'm going to use white thread on this, and then I'll use a dark charcoal or black thread on the other parts. Alright, the face is, the applique pieces are on the face, and then since I had white thread on my machine, I went ahead and added the applique stitches to the outside of the ears, and then I did the same thing to the nose, but I haven't done the eyes yet because I'm going to do that when I do the dark thread that I use for the whiskers. So for the whiskers, they're not noted on the pattern piece. It got really busy on the pattern piece, so you're just going to need some sort of fabric marking pen that you can see on your fabric that will disappear either with water or with time. And start by coming from the corner of the nose out and draw a line, and then we'll do it on the other side. And then we're going to do 3 total lines. So I'm going to do one down here and one down there. I'll look at it for a second, and then I'm going to do one more. And this one will go around the eye, so I'll start and stop that stitching line. This one, it looks like it's going to go under, so I don't have to. If you want, you can mess around with this. If you don't want that stitching line coming up close to the eye, you can just bring it down. So maybe I'll bring this one down. But don't overthink it. Whiskers on animals are not symmetrical in real life. So, alright, you've got these lines marked. Now just put dark thread on your machine and just start sewing here, stop, turn it around, sew it back. So you're going to sew each whisker twice. So in, out, like this. And then stitch around the eyes. Alright, so that's where we are with the bunny or the cat or the mouse if you're adding a face to the mouse, but the mouse doesn't have contrast on the ears. You can see I've stitched that. I left white bobbin thread in, which you can see a little bit, but that doesn't bother me because I think it kind of adds to the handmade look. So I've got my ears, fronts, my ear backs. For the bunny, I recommend using the fusible fleece like I mentioned in the other video. You're turning it inside out through this small opening, and it just sometimes it's just that heavier interfacing is really hard to turn inside out. So that's where I'm leaving it with those pieces. The rest of the video will be for the mouse version of the pouch, but all the steps are exactly the same after this. Doesn't matter which ears you're using. And I know I keep saying ears and there are claws, but it's just kind of easier just to refer to it all as ears, even though obviously claws are not ears. I have used the pattern piece to cut 4 ear pieces. I'm going to give you a tip. So these pieces of fabric have shape flex attached to the back of them. What I did is I first cut a square of fabric and a square of shape flex, and then I cut out the ear shape. It was a lot easier than trying to cut an accurate shape from the shape flex, which can be a little bit flimsy, so it's harder to get a specific shape. So go ahead and cut out 4 of those, and then you're also going to use that pattern piece to cut out 2 pieces from the stiffer interfacing. And let me go ahead and show you how to start. What you want to do is on each of your pieces, you're going to take your 2 ear pieces, right sides facing, and then you're just going to take one of these pieces of heavier weight interfacing, and you are going to very simply just pin them all together. And go ahead and do that for both of the ears. Take it to your sewing machine and stitch a small seam allowance. I would say it's a scant 1/4 inch. So if you're a quilter, go ahead and use your scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you're not a quilter, it's usually just right at the edge of the feed dogs on the machine. But go ahead and stitch it best you can. Circles are hard, but go ahead and do the best you can to get a round shape. And you're going to stop stitching here and here and make sure that you back stitch. All right, I have this sewn. What you're going to do is take some small scissors. I love these little Ofla scissors. I have had them for years. I'll go ahead and link them for you guys in the comments. I actually have 2 pair because I don't ever want to be without them. But what you're going to do is you're just going to come in and do your best to only trim the interfacing off, the heavy interfacing. Go ahead and pull that off best you can. It's hard to do on camera here, so that you kind of reduce some of that bulk in that seam. And then also come in and do just a couple little clips as we go around, making sure that you do not clip into that seam allowance. Then go ahead and turn this right side out. It will be a little bit challenging, but I've done a bunch of these. I promise you can do it. After you turn it right side out, it's going to look like this. I like to use this. This is a Clover, I think it's called a 5-in-1 tool, sometimes called a hair tool. And what I like to do is come in and use the tool to give me a nice shape. I usually like to make sure I'm pressing on the side with the heavier interfacing so I accidentally don't poke a seam. And just come in here and do that with both your pieces. Get it nice and smooth and as round as possible. It's not going to be perfect. Circles are hard. Just do your best. Take it to your iron and with steam, press it really well. Go back to your sewing machine and do a top stitch all the way around the edge of the ear. And go ahead and do that for both of the ear pieces. Alright, now the ears are sewn and top stitched, and when I top stitched, I went ahead and just kind of eyeballed and did it like it was a complete circle, because this piece at the bottom is just to kind of give it a little bit so you can handle it easier as you sew it, but it does need to be close to a circle. So I top stitched all the way around there, and then you're just going to take your piece. I usually like to put it the side without the heavyweight interfacing down, but it's up to you. I've marked the center of my pouch on both sides. When you sew this, you want this stitching line to be at the edge because it catches a little bit of the ear and the seam allowance. You don't want to put it like this because then you'll get this goofy looking ear popping out. So I usually kind of put it so that this stitching line here comes probably right about there. What you want to do is take your ear and measure out 1.5 inches from the center. And I will get a ruler and do that so you guys can see a little better. I usually eyeball it, but so there's 1.5 inches from there to the edge, and I've got this stitching line kind of halfway between my seam allowance and the edge. I'm going to move it up just a hair. I'm going to pin it in place. Go ahead and pin those on, and then I like to actually sew this. I don't baste it. Go ahead and sew it very close to the edge on each side.